Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. And one of the things that we hear about all the time in the false accusations that keep falling apart in the media, whether it's a celebrity who gets accused of something and then as the case unfolds in the news, turns out it's false, turns out it's fake, or whether it's just some low-level person and there was a spectacular accusation because it was such a heinous crime that was committed and it turns out that was false, turns out the details don't add up. We keep hearing at the end of each of these a judge or a policeman or a social worker or some other talking head will say that we don't want to legally penalize the false accusers, to subject them to the penalty of law of mistreating the courts, abusing legal process, using the police as a proxy to do violence when there's no justifiable cause, because we don't want to disincentivize or dissuade other victims or other women from coming forward. And I want to challenge that idea. Not so directly as just say that that's wrong, but I want to pull the layers back a little bit and let everybody think about it. Because that's not a rule that we apply to men. You have a conflict with somebody at work, the first thing that you are told to do is not go to the police or go file a splashy criminal accusation against them in the media. If you have a conflict with somebody at work and you're male, you will be told, sort it out. And that doesn't mean go sort it out with your fists. That means be a man and just deal with it. Just become friends with that person. Use your words. Use your ability to negotiate. And yet, in the idea of a conflict between a man and a woman, or when a woman is offended, or when a man says something that could be taken one way that's innocent and could be taken another way that's less innocent, has a sexual component to it, we always go straight to the highest escalation of that conflict, which is to invoke an accusation in media or involve the police. So why is it that we have a culture that tells women and that tells everybody else that it is totally acceptable and appropriate to, instead of address things like a rational, calm adult and just deal with things or give the benefit of the doubt, assume good intention, and be able to get on with your day like that? No, we tell women the appropriate thing to do in the slightest possibility of offense is escalate that situation to its DEFCON 10 level of ultimate conflict, which is invoke an accusation made through an authority figure like your boss or through the police or through the courts or the media. So that's what I think we need to challenge, because there's an underlying assumption there. Number one is the rape culture, the totally, completely, and idiotically stupid idea that we all have to pretend is true, that we live in a culture that facilitates or encourages or in other way encourages violent or abusive behavior by men against women. The fact that we're even having that conversation proves it's not true. Number two, the idea that's unconsciously never stated, that women are so completely and hopelessly feeble, so utterly pathetically weak and cowardly and incompetent in their mind and in their ability to negotiate life like an adult, that in the slightest provocation of perceived offense, we escalate to this level of scorched earth, destroy the person who may or may not have offended you. And yet, as a responsible adult in the room, whenever we have one of these false accusations that falls apart, we go, well, what are we going to do with this false accusation? We don't want to penalize this person who attempted to ruin somebody's life, because it would dissuade other people from coming forward, other victims, other women from coming forward. Why don't we want to dissuade other women from coming forward? I think we do. Now, before anybody gets all their panties in a bunch and says, oh, you just want to have people be victimized and never be able to say anything. No. Wrong. I want women to be adults and deal with life as if they are adults, because, surprise, they are. So whenever we hear this idea, we don't want to dissuade other victims from coming forward. Let's remember what's bundled in with that is the idea of women as totally incompetent, mindless, retarded, incapable, immature, pathetic losers who cannot actually negotiate life like an adult. And number two, the idea that the appropriate response to any slight perception of possibility of offense is escalation to the maximum scorched earth. These are the ideas encapsulated in we don't want to dissuade other victims from coming forward. Yes, we do. We want people to deal with life like they're adults, like they're capable, like they're not just a victim waiting to happen. And the people who advocate this, we don't want to dissuade other victims from coming forward. Maybe we should begin treating them with the scorn and contempt that that particular item of bad logic deserves. The alternative, that women are incapable and incompetent and so fragile that the slightest puff of wind blows them over, and that we should never dissuade anybody from escalating a slightly uncomfortable situation into this scorched earth of an accusation. We want to go down that path, continue to encourage victimhood, to continue to encourage self-ideation in women as if they are incapable, that they're not adults. We don't encourage them to take adult responsibility. The whole, he was drunk, she was drunk, therefore she can't consent and he's responsible. Where we are going with that, and it's like nobody's thought this out to its conclusion, is that women aren't capable people, and where that leads is women are become not able to sign a contract, not able to obtain a driver's license, not able to get credit, because all of those are things that require, in conception, in concept, that women are adults, can make a contract that is legally binding, that are held to an adult standard of accountability and behavior and conduct and so on. So we are chipping away at all that stuff, but we're keeping the powers of adult, but taking away all the responsibility. And we're moving more and more towards this world in which you have this social class of people, women, who for the moment have all the powers of an adult in a society, the ability to have credit, to participate in a contract, to be able to give testimony in a court, to participate in the democracy by voting and so on, to be an officer in a company, etc., to have a license to drive a car or operate some other vehicle. We're taking away all the responsibility part of that. Well, the powers of adults to do all those different things, those are not separate. And it's only inertia, it's momentum that we're keeping all those powers. We keep going down this road to protect women. What we're going to do is we're going to protect them right back into being not participatory citizens, not able to be bound in a contract, which means nobody will sign contracts with women except people who are doing it out of charity because the contract is one-sided. Your side is enforceable and hers isn't. So, I mean, like, women, wake up. This imbalance between adult responsibility and adult accountability is not going to continue, and when it corrects, it's going to be horrendous. It's going to be painful. Now, there's a certain amount of schadenfreude in that when we see the people who've been behaving badly, hoisted by their own petard, but this doesn't result in a productive, functional, or a modern society. This is going to end up in some kind of weird Sharia law of the West. And is it that we just, as a society, we have lost the ability to see the consequences that are coming right in front of our eyes? And we're going to have to actually go through this very painful social collapse? I certainly hope not. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. And as always, have a lovely, lovely day.